guy's so excited for the show. And I love that guy. He's so excited. Every time the Jeff Dubay Show starts, here from Devil's Advocate or from Burger Mo's on Wednesdays, that guy goes, yeah! He's so excited.
Is that what it's for your show?
I think it is. Either that or he's hanging out in the studio with Mick and Keith and feeling pretty good about himself. He's got cocaine eyes. That makes one of us. All right, it is, it's not the day after a Viking Sunday, but it's the day after an NFL Sunday. At least for us it is. I don't know when you're listening. But the Vikings are coming out of a bye week at 4-5. And the future of Adrian Peterson, at least the immediate future, still pretty cloudy, still pretty murky. And it's one of the things we're going to talk about today. As a matter of fact, we're going to kind of try to assess this Viking season right now, where it's at and where it's going, where it had a chance to go, and where, thank God, it avoided going. I mean, there's so many tangents and so many different turns and twists that this season could have taken. I'm Jeff Dubay with Jason McGovern. We are guest-free today. We did have a guest arranged, but the weather prevented that from happening, and it will be a reschedule, and we have no problem with that. More than understandable, especially somebody coming from outstate. But before we do really crank it up, let's just take a quick 60-second break. You know, folks who've listened to the show, they know that I lived in the Uptown area here, right down Pleasant Avenue, as a matter of fact, and on the corner of Pleasant Lake is where Uptown Pond is. And I have been here numerous times, had numerous business dealings with them. It's just a nice place with good, honest people. Bob Jacobson, the owner, you run the place. You've always been good to me.
Thanks, Jeff. We try. That's part of our business. We're here to help people, and so everybody walks in the door. We hope we can help.
Well, what I've always appreciated is when people are nice to people who are the low man on the totem pole. Like when I was a bat boy, I liked the star guys who were nice to the bat boy. Right. And I mean, I came in here and you guys didn't know who I was. You didn't know I had a radio show, and you treated me great. I mean, just a guy up the street.
Listen, that's the idea with I think a smaller family type business. Somebody walks in the door. We don't want to let them see everybody gets treated the same way, and we hope that's the case. And we don't want to see them leave without. We try our very best.
It's really easy. It's easy. It's low pressure. Good, honest people. Right on the corner of Lake Street and Pleasant Avenue. You guys got to check out Uptown Pond. I was in there today. Business is hopping, even in the bad weather. As a matter of fact, they had a deal that couldn't be beat on a snowblower. $200. The same snowblower going for $400 all over town. And I tell you right now, that snowblower didn't last long.
I was going to say, that's got to be gone, right?
Yep, it's out the door. It is out the door. But that's how good folks at Uptown Pond work. It's how they roll. Jeff Dubay, Jason McGovern. It's the Jeff Dubay Show. It's a Monday for us, anyway. We're at Devil's Advocate. We're going to talk some Vikings, even though they did not play us. And we're going to have a chat at some point here with Eric Forsberg, too, the owner of Devil's Advocate, as he just goes hustling by. He's going to fill you in on what they do here with the great menu. 40 craft beers on tap. For all you beer snobs out there, they have done a great job of going around the country and finding the microbrews out there. And Jason, what are we sampling here tonight?
I've got the Big Wood Wicked X.
You wish you did.
They're double.
You wish you had the Big Wood.
It's a good name, right?
Well, it's a twofold name.
It's catchy.
I mean, Big Wood, it has a positive connotation. Wicked X, we've all been there too.
Yes, exactly.
So you never know. But anyway, I digress. Tell me about it, because you are a beer. You've got an educated palate.
Well, for some reason I can't get away from IPAs, even though it's winter and Oktoberfest and all the porter and stout season. But it's a double IPA, hoppy, strong. It's everything you want out of an IPA, really. Unfortunately, I asked for something that was in an old menu. That's another double IPA that they didn't have here, but they have 40 great beers. So you basically can always get at least the style you're looking for, and the ones they do have are great. I'm a big fan of this beer selection.
So we head into the second. Well, it's not the second half. It's actually the I would call it the third of the NFL season. It's kind of the home, not exactly the home stretch, but it's it's coming close to it. Vikings at 4-5 with a chance this week to pull to 500. And the reason this comes to mind and becomes reasonably important is, they're going to Chicago, and we saw firsthand last night what a goddamn disaster the Chicago Bears are. I mean, they don't care.
How are they that bad?
Because Mark Trestman's a bad head coach. We could start this whole thing off by just saying thank you for the Vikings not hiring Mark Trestman. And when they were talking about him, when his name was out there, I was scared to death of it, because the man's not an NFL head coach. He might be a brilliant offensive mind. He might be this guy who can scheme you and come up with game plans to beat you. But he doesn't have the makeup of a National Football League head coach. And this is something we've talked about. I've talked about it at previous radio stations, and I've talked about it on this podcast. The brainy nerd sit in a room and X and O you to death guy is not going to be a good head coach. He's not a leader. He's not a guy who a group full of men are going to listen to and run through a brick wall for. He's the guy they pantsed in high school, and he's the guy they can't respect.
Yep.
I mean, you've got to be a man's man to be a head coach in the National Football League, and Mark Trestman is not that guy. He's a weenie. I mean, he's a nerd. You can be a great coordinator all day long if you're a nerd, but you cannot be a head coach in the National Football League. And I know that sounds silly, but can you imagine Gilbert or Lewis firing up a room full of ogres? I mean, it doesn't work that way. You've got to be a leader of men, and Mark Trestman is not, and that thing is off the tracks. I mean, he's dead. He's dead in the water. He's as done as he could be, and he's just showing that he's not. He doesn't have the mettle to hold that position in the National Football League. Because, Jason, when you saw that game last night, that team didn't give a shit. That team quit. That team didn't play. I don't want to say they quit because they never started. I mean, they came out of the locker room defeated. Out of the locker room defeated.
I'm trying to think, though, of a couple of a coach or two that might go against your theory there. Like, I mean, the Giants coach, why can't I think of his name right now?
Coughlin? Oh, he's a badass. He's a Parcells disciple.
But he doesn't.
Badass
Okay, because he doesn't come across as scary to me. I know he's got the scowl and he can yell and all that.
I know what you mean. I mean,
you know what I mean? He looks like he'd be the guy that would get pants in high school.
Yeah, he does. He does. He looks like that. But he might be the toughest disciplinarian, badass head coach in the league. I mean, even worse than Belichick. I mean, there's a guy who, if you're not 5 minutes early to a meeting, he finds you for being late.
And Childress would be the perfect example of what you're saying, where he knew he was supposed to be an offensive mind and all that stuff too, right? And then he came in, and then he doesn't lead, as you said. He doesn't have the personality for it.
No.
And personality should be every GM when you hire a coach. Personality is as important as X's and O's.
Well, even maybe more, because I mean, a head coach isn't the guy who's necessarily game planning. Although there are, I mean, every division of labor from one team to the other is going to be different. Sean Payton's a head coach who is considered league-wide to be the greatest offensive mind in the game, the best game planner / play caller out there. So I mean, he's a guy who goes and digs in and X's and O's you to death. But he's not. I mean, he's still a leader. He's a guy that guys get behind. He's a guy that he can get guys fired up. Yeah, I mean, Trestman, you just look at him, and you just know, and you hear him in interviews, and you listen to his comments, his press conferences. He just sounds lost. He sounds over his head.
Where did he come from?
Canada. Well, he's from St. Louis Park initially, and he's had stints in the NFL as a coordinator or position coach.
But he was last in the CFL?
Well, I mean, in all fairness, he crushed. I mean, he was the head coach of the Montreal Alouettes, and they were like a little dynasty up there in recent years. I mean, he's been destroying the Canadian Football League.
Well, we see that obviously doesn't translate to the NFL.
Very rarely. I mean, you're talking about where you're playing 3 downs. You're in a bigger field. You're getting 3 downs instead of 4. You're throwing the ball constantly, and you get a damn rouge if you down a missed field goal in their massive end zones. I mean, it's just a game. It's a game that's just all about throwing the football. I mean, it's just an aerial circus. You throw it all over the place.
And maybe in that way, his personality could work because it is X's and O's. I mean, if you can really just get some guys lined up, and if they're fast and they have the speed,
you talking about Trestman? Oh, and in Canada.
That's what I'm saying. Up there, that does work maybe in that league because it's such a different league. But in the NFL, like the NFL is mean and gritty, and it's all about the offensive and defensive lines.
It is,
and that's all about trenches and warfare and that whole mentality, like you're saying.
Yeah, it is.
And Zimmer does bring that.
And also Zimmer's, I think he's a perfect example of that. He really is. And it's the thing. I can see why they thought that maybe the league is. If you smell something, that it's. Well, I guess I don't have to tell you because we're the only two people.
There's no reason to mention that on
we're
a
the
podcast
only 2 people
with 2 people.
I'm sorry, but anyway, I digress. I can see why the team maybe thought, this is the way the league is trending. Maybe Trestman is the kind of guy we can give a shot at because you know what, the NFL that we grew up watching was all about how well can you run the ball, how well can you defend the run. And if you can do those 2 things, you can be competitive. But if you struggle with either of those, you're going to have a hard time. But now the NFL is about you pass to set up the run. You got to be able to throw the football. You got to be able to exploit weak secondaries. You got to be able to exploit rules that are set up for offenses to succeed and defenses to fail. And if you can't do that, I mean, we've seen the Vikings during Adrian Peterson's career be really hit or miss in terms of they'll be competitive for a year and then they'll fall off the map for a couple years. And nobody has got or nobody has had a more dynamic or consistent running back over the last 7-8 years than the Minnesota Vikings have had. And what have they got to show for it? I mean, nothing. I mean, they were never a threat to go to a Super Bowl except for the 1 year, and that was Favre.
Yes, and we picked the great era to go with the best running back in the league. We really had great timing there. The Vikings did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't say it's an antiquated form of football. I mean, you still have to have a form of running game, but there's been a shift from what you had to have before to now it's just almost an accent to what you need talk about the running game is no longer the staple. I mean, it's a side dish. It's it's just an extra. It's a window dressing. But if you can come out and just chuck it all over the place, you're going to be competitive. I mean, it's to me, it's past to set up the run. So they might look at a guy like Trestman and say, okay, this you're coming from Canada, you got the passing game down, you know how to throw the ball all over the place, but you're in Chicago. I mean, you're playing in cold weather. You're playing, in the NFC North. It's hard to win like that in that kind of a place. And
back to your point about the type of personality and all that too.
Yep.
You have Jay Cutler as your quarterback. You can't be the guy that he can talk back to. You have to be the guy that puts him in his place and tells him to shut up and stop being a punk.
And they thought that Trestman might be the guy, because he's a quarterback. He is a quarterback. He's got a quarterback's mentality. He played quarterback. He's a quarterback coach. He's an offensive coordinator. So they thought, if we can get somebody, who can be relatable to our whiny brat, quarterback. And they thought that Trestman would, that they'd connect.
Take him under his wing.
That they'd be tight. But I'm not sure that. I mean, Cutler. I just don't. There's some guys who can't be reached, and I don't think Cutler is, an absolute, loss.
No, if you put him on a good team, I think he could be a good quarterback.
I think when things go bad, he will bail so fast.
Oh yeah.
I mean, last night his level of disinterest was alarming. I mean,
he's already thinking about his next episode of the league that he's going to appear on. He's checked out.
That pick he threw to Micah Hyde. I mean, he just didn't care about that. I mean, he just floated it out there. It was just garbage. I mean, there was just so many alarming things you saw from the Bears last night. So, anyway, back on point here. That's the Vikings' next opponent. I mean, hello. The Vikings go.
And we're still underdogs, I believe.
Are we really?
I believe we're still, it might be down to 3 points, but I believe we're underdogs.
Well, the Vikings go to Soldier Field this Sunday. And if you can beat the Bears, if you don't, what a goddamn embarrassment. I mean, from what you saw, don't get me wrong. The Vikings are not the Packers. The Vikings don't have an Aaron Rodgers. The Vikings can't do what, to teams, what Green Bay did to Chicago. And nobody here is expecting them to be able to. But when you see a team that bad, a team that is not only that vulnerable as the Bears are, but a team that is now 3-6, absolutely not a playoff team, and a team that is about to quit on its coach if it hasn't already. There's a game you have to win, and if you don't, you're a joke. I mean, if you're either real or you're a joke, and they're the in between. If you're an in between team in the NFL, you're wasting your time because you're drafted, in the middle of the first round forever, and you never get the guys you need, and you just kind of float in mediocrity. So either you're a contender or you're a joke. And the Vikings, if they lose this game to Chicago, they're a joke. But here's the deal: you win this game, you're 5-5 with 6 to play, and guess what? 3 in a row at home. 2 of them are Carolina and the Jets. The other's Green Bay. A little pesky. But Carolina and the Jets in a stretch of 3 straight at home. Even if you go 2-1 in that stretch, you're 7-6 going into the final 3 weeks of the season, which means you are in the picture. You are in the hunt, which would be a pretty damn huge accomplishment. First-year head coach, rookie quarterback, no Adrian Peterson. If you can get to the last month of the season with games that matter, then you are doing a fantastic job as a first-year head coach in this league.
I think you're kind of burying the lead, though, when it comes to the Chicago game, and that, of course, is will he play?
Well, that's the other element here. And I mean,
what is your prediction right now with what you're hearing? Because to me, it sounds like the Vikings are just saying, "Here, NFL, you're going to make the decision for us."
Well, they're smart enough to know that it's pointless for them to say anything because it's not up to them, and it's. Personally, I don't think anything's going to happen quickly enough for him to play this week. I mean, the league still has the right to suspend him. They still have the right to put some disciplinary action in place. But again, we're in uncharted territory here. I mean, what is when you talk about these incidents, like what happened with Ray Rice, and I don't want to group what happened with Ray Rice with what happened to Adrian Peterson. As people who listen to the show know, I think they are vastly, vastly different. I mean, Ray Rice is an animal who wanted to just physically pound down a female, and that is disgusting.
And lied about it,
yes.
Tried to cover it up. Yes. That I think is as big of an issue as in the whole thing.
Yep. And Adrian Peterson is a father who tried to discipline a child, and he lacked proper parenting skills.
And by the fact that he
came
out and admitted it,
he
showed that it was more of a mistake, and
yes.
he's just an idiot than
Correct.
it is a malicious
yes.
thing.
I mean, Adrian Peterson is not a beast. He's not an animal. He's not some vicious child beater. I mean, he's an idiot. All right? He's not a bad guy. Adrian Peterson. People can sit here and try to paint him any way they want and draw their judgments. I know Adrian Peterson, and he's not a bad guy. I've had enough contact with him to know what kind of a person he is. He's just somebody who grew up in a culture different than what you did, Mr. Ossio and Miss Elk River and Mr. Burnsville and Miss Egan. I mean, it's just he's not. And believe it or not, there are cultures that exist outside of the Twin Cities metro area, and they don't all share the exact same values or way of bringing up a child that you do. And that doesn't mean that they're right, that it's okay. But I just think sometimes you have to understand that not everything is so cut and dried and so cookie cutter, and it's just because it's not the way June and Ward Cleaver raised you doesn't mean that somebody else wasn't raised with different values, and that there's just not some room for maybe improving these things as you move forward. That certain ways of life slowly do get phased out. You'd like to think as we move forward, racism starts, it dies out little by little. Open-mindedness takes over. And these are slow social changes that take place over time. Raising children. I mean, 100 years ago, I bet kids were beaten far more regularly than they are now. Now,
Right.
As time goes on, you become a little more forward-thinking. You start, doing things in a different way. But you got to just understand that everybody wasn't raised in frickin' St. Louis Park or Mound. I mean, it's just, and these people that get raised in a different part of the country with different values, I mean, you blame somebody for how they're acting, but if that was what they were taught, I mean, who are you to say that it's their fault? I mean, something was put in their head at a certain age that wasn't put in your head. I mean,
it's a cultural deal.
Yes.
That's what that is. It's a different culture, and it is changing,
Yes.
but it changes at different paces around the country.
And you know what? Things like this help it change. But don't paint somebody. I mean, you can paint somebody as ignorant and a little backwards and needing to change his or her ways. I think those are fair assessments of what's going on with Adrian Peterson. But to paint him as this horrific, mean-spirited abuser of children is it's just ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. But nonetheless, we are still in uncharted territory when it comes to, how does the league deal with something like this? Because these are not normal types of things that we see players get in trouble with on a regular basis, and there's not a lot of precedent set for something like this.
When Michael Vick came back, he went to prison, so a little bit different in that way. The way the system treated him, and obviously looked at his crime.
Yeah.
But he served his time, got out, and was allowed to play in the NFL right away, wasn't he? As soon as he served his time?
Yep.
So to me, to not be hypocritical, but and again, Goodell's got a whole different animal on his plate now with all the different cases around him. But to me, if Vic is allowed to do what he did and then allowed to serve his time, the court said this, and then he's allowed to come back, how do you not say, well, Adrian Peterson, the courts have decided you can be out of jail and you don't have to serve any time? How do they say that they need to discipline him more unless it's just about a message and it's all about Goodell?
Yeah, well, that's my guess here is that they don't get anything done in time for him to play against Chicago, but then that he's back the following week. Because there comes a point. Okay, let's just say this. Playing in the National Football League is not an inalienable right. All right, so it is a privilege that is earned, and because of that, you do have the league has the ability to set some rules and some guidelines for your behavior that if you don't follow them, your privileges can be rescinded. It's not your God-given right to play in football in the National Football League. Like, so you don't necessarily have the freedoms that you start thinking about, and due process of this and all the things that we are guaranteed as citizens of this country. This is the National Football League, and to be a member of it, they're allowed to put some guidelines for your behavior in place. And if you don't follow them, they do have the right to suspend. But there does come a point where it becomes counterproductive to become just a tyrant. And we're talking about Goodell and putting down laws and punishments. You don't want to become a tyrant either, because at some point you want Adrian Peterson to play in the National Football League again, because it's good for the league. Number two, man has a right to earn a living. I mean, he's guilty of nothing more than a misdemeanor at this point.
Right.
So I mean, it would be. You at some point you start to face legal action if you try to keep a guy from making a living. I mean,
in the players' union's already on.
Yeah, and it would never get to that point. And you do have to worry about, again, relations with the Players Association. I mean, you don't want to battle them on every single thing. I mean, at some point you have to have some compromise between two sides on certain issues and certain situations with players. So I mean, it's a matter of a punishment fitting crime, and that's not easy. I mean, Adrian Peterson did something wrong, and we all know that. Some people think it worse than others, but he did something wrong, and you've got to find a way for punishment to fit crime. But what is it? What does an overzealous physical punishment of a child? I don't mean to. That almost makes it sound too innocent. But I mean, an overtly violent punishment of a child. An overtly violent punishment of a child. What does that equate to? I mean, what is that worth? Is that worth half a season of your National Football League career? People will come back and say, you got paid. But I mean, I mean, I've spent 10.
He's gonna give up checks. That's going to be part of the deal too. He's going to give up some game checks.
Well, yeah, I mean, and he's going to do some public service. He's going to do PSAs. But I mean, I spent 6 years around Major League Baseball players, and I spent 15 years around professional athletes as a member of the media, and I know that what they care about is, especially guys like Adrian Peterson, what they care about is their ability to play, not their ability to earn. Believe it or not, Adrian Peterson, he's got an ability to earn, and he's going to be okay. I know he's on the 18-year plan. Did numerous women around the country, but whatever, or at least around the 5-state region. I don't know where they all live, but he's writing checks, and he lost some endorsement deals. But he's not lining up at the Dorothy Day Center. Okay, so you consider and say, oh, he got paid, he got all these checks. What Adrian Peterson wants to do is play football, and I promise you, and I'm not asking you to feel sorry for him, but I promise you, the last 2 months have been hell for Adrian Peterson, not playing football, being away from his teammates, not doing what he loves to do, you can't underestimate for a second what the importance of the game and being on the field and taking part in the game means to these guys. So he has, again, not asking for sympathy for Adrian Peterson, but you've got to understand he has served a far more severe punishment than a lot of people want to give him credit for. I mean, he's sat out, and so you can sit here and talk about the money all you want. Trust me, he's suffered more than you want to think from this. I'm not saying it's enough. I'm not saying it's not enough. I'm saying the question is, what is the punishment that fits the crime? And without precedent, I can't think of anything even remotely similar to this situation. With no precedent, then what? How do you quantify what he did in terms of games missed? In terms of maybe a suspension without pay for moving forward from this point, because he's been paid to this point. I mean, it's just an extraordinarily difficult thing to say. That's the appropriate amount of punishment, and I'm glad I'm not the one deciding. But I personally think if he comes back at this point, I think sitting half a season, even with pay, I think that is pretty ballpark. I think that's close. If it's not, then maybe another game or two, maybe a game or two from the league without pay. But if he has to sit this whole season, I think that would be overkill. I think that's too much. I don't think it's going to happen either.
I think you got to pay, or I think you have to take away his pay for the first 8 games, for the games that he's missed, 9 games,
or just
whatever
have
it is.
A donation or something,
or even better, yes, to some kind of children's foundation or something. But then throw in this part, or what do you think? Did you see Tom Power's column? That he should be. He said they should just cut him. They're not going to have him next year because they can't afford him anyway.
Right.
You brought up the money thing too. What does next year matter? Should that be playing a role in the decision that the Vikings make right now?
Well, it's not going to be the Vikings. I think it's the league's decision right now, and I disagree with Tom. I'll disagree with Tom in this regard. If this never had happened, I don't believe that Adrian Peterson would not be a member of the Vikings next year. I think he would have been.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think they would just pay him whatever he wanted. They'd go with his contract. But now, with all of this, I wonder if the Vikings have a chance now of getting him to come down and to play that last year, or even maybe renegotiate for a few years. Mm-hmm. But now, with all of this, maybe they even get a little leverage and go, you tarnished your own name. We got to bring the price down.
And who knows how he feels about how he's been treated by the organization. I mean, maybe he's bitter. Maybe he doesn't think they had his back. Who knows?
Well, they did let him. They were going to let him play, and then they changed their own mind. So you can tell they obviously were supporting him and then decided they couldn't because of the backlash.
And I still think he's got the support of his coaches and teammates. And, I mean, Zimmer said so much. I mean, that they love and support him and they'd welcome him back.
Well, he still is the best running back. I mean, that's why I don't even give the teammates.
Guy. He's a team guy. I mean, there's no issue. There's no issue there. There really isn't. I mean, he's a guy who he's not Percy Harvin. I mean, he's not a guy.
No, not at all.
He's not a locker room divider. He's a good, solid guy. And there's nobody in that locker room, coach or player, that wouldn't want him back. Hey, quick on-air production meeting. Hey, Eric, quick on-air production meeting. At 5:30, you want to jump in? It's 5:22 right now. At 5:30, we're going to do a little 60-second schmooze of Uptown Pond, and then you jump right in. And we'll do a little schmooze of Devil's Advocate. Sound good? Schmooze away, he says. All right, we'll see you in about 7 minutes.
Yeah, 6 minutes.
It's Eric Forsberg. He is the owner here of Devil's Advocate. And we are going to get just a little background on this place because we've been trying to do it for 2 months. You'd think he'd be an easier booking than he has been.
The guy that owns the place, you'd think he'd want to come on right away.
It's been tough. Oh, please do. You know what? Last week, our Minnesota Wild guys had a couple of beers, and the show was 1,000 times better.
It was really good.
So
got him going.
You go do shots. You go do shots.
Grab me one.
Well, I'll abstain. I'll stay the designated driver of the show. But you guys lube up.
That's perfect. The designated driver of the show.
Yeah, you guys lube up and get ready. So the Vikings, we kind of keep getting sidetracked here, but we're looking at a team. Yeah, I like to kind of go back and do the what is, or what. Well, not the what is, but the what could have been. The St. Louis Rams, it turns out, are not a terrible football team. And the Vikings beat them by 4 touchdowns on the road to open the season.
Yeah, they whooped them.
And I'll tell you this: if the Rams were a 2-win team, if they were a 3-13 team, anytime you go on the road in the NFL and beat a team by 4 touchdowns, it's a statement. I mean, no matter who that team is, a 4-touchdown road victory in the NFL is extraordinarily rare. But the Rams have proven to be a reasonable football team. I mean, they gave Atlanta a game. They gave Arizona a game. They beat the Niners on the road in a phenomenal defensive effort. They've been extremely competitive against a number of quality teams. And I believe they're right around 500. I mean, they're respectable.
I think they are. I think they're 4-5 or something, too.
Yeah, they're reasonable, similar record. I mean, if you don't, again, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't lose Peterson, you don't lose your quarterback and are forced to go, with the kid who I'm not going to say he wasn't ready, but I mean, nonetheless, it's tough to throw a rookie.
No, and Castle was your starting quarterback and should have been this year, all year.
But think about. The Saints just lost their first home game in 2 years yesterday. We had a great chance to win that game without the Munnerlyn penalty, which we both think was a bogus call.
Yep.
So, I mean, you look good against St. Louis. You're gutty and gritty down in New Orleans in a tough place to play against a dynamic offense. I mean, for the Vikings to be where they are, with the things that have fallen apart and such, that the wheels falling off from the running game and whatnot. The struggles of the offensive line. I know the offensive line is really banged up, so there's some really legitimate reasons for the struggles up there. But that's a unit that has really not performed well and made things that much harder having a rookie quarterback. But I mean, you have the most pathetic, limping, dying, quitting squad in your sights right now. That is the only thing between you and being 5-5. I mean,
Can the Adrian thing play in as a distraction this week? Do the players give a shit, really? I mean,
no.
They've got to go into this thinking he's not playing, and then if he comes back, hey, great, right?
Yeah, it can't possibly be a downer.
And it's not like your running game has completely disappeared without him, actually. I mean, that Asiata and McKinnon have stepped up.
We're 8th in the league in rushing yards. Or at least we were going into the weekend.
Is Bridgewater's not running for a lot of yards, is he?
No, he's not. He's not. And
that is the running backs that are producing.
Oh, absolutely. It's not
even with that shitty offensive line.
Yeah, it's not a misleading stat. I mean, they've managed to put together enough of a running game to matter. And I think Norv Turner again is a brilliant offensive coordinator. And with the things that have happened, you lose your running back, you lose. You see a couple guys on the line. The line struggles. You got a rookie quarterback in there who's under a ton of pressure. When I say a ton of pressure, I mean pass pressure, not like, oh, God, what am I going to do? I'm a starting quarterback. No, I mean, like, oh, my God, what am I going to do? My line can't fucking block.
Exactly.
There's just – I just think that for this thing to be held together to the level that it has is pretty damn good. And I think Zimmer deserves a ton of credit. I think Norv Turner deserves a ton of credit. I think people who don't think Bridgewater's doing a hell of a job are really missing the point because he is under fire big time in that pocket. And if he wasn't as poised as he is as a rookie, which is – it's rare. I mean, there are veteran quarterbacks who are not as poised as Bridgewater. If you didn't have that kind of confidence and poise in the pocket, I mean, this thing could have the wheels could have come off this thing a long time ago. But here it is, a team that is hapless, a team that has no teeth, a team that has no fight, a team that has no heart, and a team that's got a horseshit head coach who couldn't lead McGovern to drink a beer, for God's sake.
And that's not easy or not hard to do.
And that is who you play this week, the Chicago Bears. That is all between you and 5-5. And once that happens, then anything happens, and you could be a playoff team. We're back in 60.
Everything. Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
We'll do that. Everything you just said to me sounds like a recipe for disaster.
I know.
As a Minnesota sports fan,
of course,
it sounds horrible.
Yes, we're Vikings fans. We know the worst is coming. Okay, last year, 2013, I lived just down the road, Pleasant Avenue, just a few blocks here from Uptown Pond, which is right on the corner of Lake and Pleasant. And, there are a couple of times, you just try to get to that next payday, maybe a couple of bucks short. If you've got some items, jewelry, diamonds, electronics, I mean, you come down here and they give you a fair price for it, and then you come back a week later, 2 weeks later, whatever, you get it back at a real reasonable price.
So we're very competitive, we hope, on different angles, in different ends and different articles. Computers, electronics, TVs, jewelry. We buy, we give loans, and we also have emphasis on diamond jewelry too, that we also try and give credit for the best we can. We're specialists in that area also, so it's an all-round sort of combination.
Well, it's a great place. It's a nice, clean place with honest people, and I tell you what, it's got a real family feel to it. As a matter of fact, it's tied into Strauss family, and I go way back with the late, great Jerry. So, I mean, these are people I know and people I trust. You can find them on Twitter, too, by the way. They're at Uptown Pond, and also on Facebook, Uptown Pond and UptownPond.net. It's really cool when I'm not employed anywhere or doing a podcast, is I always get people on social media wanting, to say, hey, do a podcast, do something, get out there so we can hear, we miss you, blah, blah, blah. And well, it's really nice. The only way I can is if, people support it financially. And this show wouldn't have started. It would have no legs. It would have gone nowhere. It would have, we're 23,000 listeners into it now, and we wouldn't be 10 listeners into it if it wasn't for Devil's Advocate. So Eric Forsberg is the owner. And you know what? I'm not saying you guys should kiss his ass because he got me back on the air.
No, you can.
Yes, you should.
No, go ahead.
But I mean, I got people.
That's great.
I got people who say, "God, thank God you're doing the show again," and it's humbling, but it's thanks to you. It's thanks to now.
Keep going.
Oh, well, it's also thanks to Johnny Come Latelys too, like Uptown Pounder Burger Most, who we love. But I mean, you.
All right. I'll share with them.
No, but I mean, you guys started it all. We owe a debt of gratitude, to say the least.
Well, it's been a happy marriage. Let's put it that way.
Aw.
And not many of them are.
Mine wasn't. But from the first day we came in here, we knew this was not a normal place. I mean, it's not a run of the mill joint in any. And you've got a lot of experience. You've had places you've owned, you've managed. I mean, what made you think that hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to feature meatballs. We're going
Of all different kinds of meat.
Yeah, we're going to open a bar downtown Minneapolis. It's going to be a carnivore's. It's going to be a carnivore's absolute wet dream. We're going to go meatballs. We're going to go. Everything's going to be big. Everything's going to be
hearty.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's not a light meal. I mean, there are light meals on the menu.
Hey.
You got salads. You do have salads, but I mean,
I get everything for every walk of life.
But this is a man's restaurant. I mean, this is come in and get yourself some meat restaurant.
Beer and balls.
Seriously.
Yeah, you can't get it.
Beer and
go wrong.
balls.
I mean,
How did you not?
And now we got you here, so it's beer, balls, and sports.
Yes, this is a man's dream. It's a man's dream. So, seriously, where'd you come up with Atlantic Fare? How do you come up with something like that?
Well, it's where I'm from. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I grew
You
up.
don't sound Eastern.
Well, some days.
Where are you
Depends on how
from?
much I've had to drink.
Well, yeah, you don't
Love
sound
when accents come out with more.
Yeah,
alcohol.
You're not a Jersey Shore guy, are you? I mean,
No. I'm Washington, D.C. area, so Mid-Atlantic,
awesome.
down south. Kind of grew up
Beltway.
there, and Beltway, yeah.
I love DC.
Yeah.
DC's awesome.
Everything's great except the people.
I was really.
A lot of love for the hometown.
Oh, yeah. Hey, it's fine. If you get in the neighborhoods, you get to know people there, it's great. But there's a lot of transitional people in D.C., and people don't really kind of put down roots and get to know each other. And in Minnesota, that's why I live here, and that's why it's my adopted home, is people here are real people and kind of get to know each other.
I've been there once, DC,
Mm-hmm.
and it was
Clean.
during the Oliver North Contra hearings, and I bought an Oliver North American Hero T-shirt from a guy off the street, and I can't find it. I can't find it anywhere. I want it so bad, Oliver North American Hero. But that's kind of
My dad would kiss you hearing you say that.
I couldn't find it. I'm so mad. I mean, how cool would it be to have that right
That
now?
dude is the best.
Well, he was psychotic. But
That's what made him great.
You know who he was? He was the real life version of "You Can't Handle the Truth." He was
100%.
That's who he is.
I mean, a guy who stood up there and just went, hey, you know what?
You need me on that T-shirt.
Keep firing
You
it
want
at
me on that T-shirt.
It's fine. You know what? I'm going to end up being governor or some shit.
Seriously, he had great marine hair.
Yeah, he did. Oh, yeah,
He did.
absolutely.
He really did. So you're from DC, but so we knew coming in, if you're going to go to Atlantic Fair, you're going to have seafood on the menu. My favorite thing here is, by the way, and I know I ruined the name of this because I'm from Minnesota. I still call it a poor boy, not a po' boy, because I can't do it. But I mean, it's still my favorite thing. I mean, whoever invented a fried shrimp sandwich. I mean, my hero. There should be a statue erected.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
Seriously, that's genius. It's absolute pure genius.
Yeah.
When it comes to fries, so many restaurants just kind of skimp on them. Yep. I mean, I don't know, probably rip open a bag of something frozen and chuck them in oil.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to me, what separates you guys, I mean, your fries are outrageous. For folks here in the Twin Cities who can relate, they're State Fair fries. I mean, they're the closest. They're almost identical to what you get at the State Fair, but they're even better.
Well, we call them. They're called boardwalk fries. It's an
concept.
East Coast French fry.
Sure.
The idea is something you get anywhere that you go out there. Basically, go to Baltimore, go down to the waterfront. You get a big cone full of boardwalk fries.
Nice.
I mean, the main idea is essentially we take them, we slice them, we blanch them overnight, and then the trick is cook them in peanut oil.
Oh, really?
Peanut oil and sea salt.
Well, don't give away your secrets.
No, that's fine. You can look it up.
It's unbelievable.
Have you heard of the Food Network?
I can't watch. I'll tell you what. Here's the worst thing in the world. When you're, there are no secrets here. I've done a little time, but when you're in jail, and like something like Food Network or even just a goddamn Applebee's commercial comes on, you can't stand it because you're eating dog food. I mean, you're eating low grade school lunches, and when Applebee's gives you an erection, you know you're in trouble. You know things have gone south. Things have gone south in a hurry. I mean, an Applebee's commercial comes on and people are running to the restroom. But
Solitary is a bitch.
It's unbelievable. But the burger. You do just one burger on the menu.
Just one burger.
For a place that's all about the meat, all about the hearty.
Yeah.
Why just one burger?
Well, for one thing, everybody does burgers, which is sweet.
That's
Don't
true.
get me wrong.
That's
I
true.
mean, and there's a lot of great burgers in town already.
Mm-hmm.
We are the hometown of the Juicy Lucy, which is fantastic. And everybody can make a great burger, but that's not going to be our focus.
Right.
We want to do something different.
It is a great burger, by the way. It's got bacon, blue cheese.
Oh, yeah.
It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, we spent a lot of time on that burger and spent a lot of money on it too.
Really?
But,
You R&D'd it?
There was a lot of R&D in that one. Believe it, I know it sounds crazy, but finding the right grind for the meat, making sure that we're actually putting the right demi-glaze, it's just, it is
really
awesome.
good.
Yeah.
It is. What's your favorite thing here besides Carissa? I mean, it's his girlfriend. It's his girlfriend. I'm not talking shit. It's his girlfriend.
That's fair.
I didn't know that either until like about a few weeks ago.
Actually, someday, it happens.
Well, I mean, you guys just you keep it very professional here.
We're a mom and pop.
Well, I mean, you're not like
That's what we do.
You're
We're
not
a neighborhood bar for
you're
downtown.
not the PDA. I mean, you're not all over each other. You're very mature about it.
Well, if anything, we just have domestics in the bar. That's fine.
Jesus.
No, you say it hasn't happened.
Does she have mace? Does she carry mace? Pepper spray?
She, you know what? She doesn't need to.
Oh, she could kick your ass. couldn't
Oh,
she?
yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, no, she
Oh,
could.
yeah.
But you're not the toughest guy down.
No, well, keep in mind, I mean, I realize we're doing a podcast and you got a face for radio, but that doesn't go for all of us. Bust up my moneymaker and we're done.
So, the only thing I've never done here is have dessert. Oh, no, I did one time. I had the white chocolate. It was like a white chocolate raspberry cheesecake.
Yeah.
And I'm still
Ooh.
a little turned down by it.
Yeah,
But just throw some desserts at me. I mean, just not literally. I mean, just tell me what you got. 'Cause we never talk about it.
Actually, we just launched a new dessert. We're doing what we call cake balls now.
What? It's
You know,
the
it's gonna be a
balls.
ball.
More
What is it with
balls?
you and the balls?
Oh, yeah,
The cake.
whatever.
Well, okay, you know what? Throw me a cake ball. Get someone to throw me a cake ball. Yeah. No, that's seriously. What's a cake ball? Well, don't just say it's a ball of cake. I mean,
Well,
that
I mean,
just
what do you
makes
want
me
to
sound-
know? No, we make them a couple different ways.
Okay.
We've got, I mean, either your red velvet, we've got your chocolate, your whatever.
Yeah.
But then we do some specialty ones too. Where we're kind of injecting mascarpone, doing some kind of specialty frosting.
What's mascarpone? Is that like Al's brother?
Yeah.
I apologize. I didn't have the
Yeah.
rim shot ready.
Yeah, can't you?
That's
can you
a
edit
bad
that?
producer.
No, fuck.
Bad producer.
No, seriously, what is it? Is it like a liqueur or what is it?
How do I explain mascarpone? For you in your layman's term, frosting.
Oh, okay.
For you morons.
Have I been insulted?
You culinary idiots.
Have I been
God's
insulted?
sakes.
Hey, was that an insult? I want somebody to tell me. Have I been insulted?
Good God, man.
No, but
Where have you been?
Well,
That was
so-
on the Applebee's commercial?
You know what? I saw when I walked by. I don't know his name. He's the guy who longboards. He longboards to work.
Oh, yeah.
You know the guy I'm talking about in your kitchen?
I've met him.
Well, I would assume. I mean,
Yeah.
he works for you.
Jake.
No, not this Jake. That's Jake.
Oh, not that Jake?
No,
Oh.
no, the dude in the kitchen with the long hair who
So they
cooks.
all
Oh,
longboard.
with the
He
dreads?
longboards. Yeah, with the dreads. Yeah, whatever his name is.
That guy.
He was eating a cake ball when I walked by.
Cook one.
That's here's.
I'm kidding.
It's like
This place is like a family.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
We're a real family
tight-knit.
joint.
really warm and fuzzy. Really warm and fuzzy. But I mean, he was eating a cake ball. I asked him what it was. He said, "This is a cake ball," but it didn't look like cake. It was all shiny and glossy and fancy looking.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really. I mean, it looked like it was something.
He worked out on that.
Seriously, it
It's
was like
Scott-
it was like
Scotty,
a work,
by the way, Scotty, if
okay.
you're out there.
Well, seriously, it was like a work of art. I mean, I'm not a big presentation guy. Like if I go to a real fancy restaurant and they give me some tiny little piece of meat and drizzle some sauce and a zigzag line over it, I'd basically say, "Go fuck yourself."
Yeah.
And
No,
then
this is real.
Take this and shove it with your goddamn wedge salad.
with
Give me
your-
some real food.
Give me some balls.
Yeah. By the way,
Give me some
thank you
balls.
for not having a wedge salad.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I mean, if you would have had a
Oh,
wedge
isn't
salad,
that the new feature next month?
Yeah,
Don't
actually,
say
yeah,
it.
thanks. That's,
Don't you seriously, as a restaurant
it's a
owner,
special tonight, but that's okay.
Okay, I had this rant a couple of weeks ago. As a restaurant owner, don't you think the wedge salad is a bunch of shit? It's a chunk of lettuce.
Yeah, you gave up.
Yes, you don't care. It's like
up.
It's like you become the wife of the person eating. Where you're like, I've been slaving in this restaurant all day. Make your own salad. I'm done.
It's
That's
funny.
what it is.
Well, I don't know if you know about being in any kind of public business at all, but
No, well.
really, every now and again there's an opinion, and everybody loves to have an opinion. It's
Wedge
funny.
salad.
I had a guy who came in when we first opened. He'd come in every day and tell me we needed a wedge salad. I'm like, no.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No.
What an
And
idiot.
It's funny you would pick that.
Why would
one,
somebody
but
come
yeah.
in here and say, why don't you just give me some lettuce and I'll make my own salad? Why would he say that? That's all it is. It's ridiculous.
Well, the idea of this, I mean, we're a scratch kitchen. We have been from the beginning, and the idea with the whole restaurant from the start was, we're a bar first, we're a restaurant second, and that was the idea coming into it. Was this space is kind of unique in the sense that we really wanted people to kind of come in and discover this beer program that we have, this great wine program that we have, this cocktail program that we had. But then, if they order food, they find out, oh my God, the food is really
It's
this
outrageous.
is actually good.
Why do you get so much?
So
I mean,
the
the
idea
plate
was to
comes-
become an actual, to be both, and now people are really starting to catch on to the fact that we make great food.
How do you weigh like 110? I mean, seriously. I'm not kidding. I'm dead serious. I've gained like 10, 15 pounds.
Oh, it's just stress.
I mean, well, I guess. I mean,
you own the bar. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, I mean, it's that. Yeah, laid back owning a bar. It's so easy.
I mean, well, coming in,
they never look stressed.
Coming in here and eating, fried shrimp sandwiches and poutine. I mean, I'm just getting fat as hell.
Yeah, it's just we forget to eat.
Okay,
actually, that's what it comes down to.
Well, plus, you've got to keep yourself looking decent because you've outkicked your coverage, and you know
for
it.
sure.
I mean, he's got a lot of game. He's got to maintain his game. Well, I mean,
are you kidding me?
It's no joke. I mean, he's got.
Dude, the minute this is gone, she's gone, and then it's like.
Oh Jesus!
Now
you're going to start singing Hall & Oates,
right? Which a lot of people love.
Very much.
Don't knock it.
That's a great song. No, She's Gone is a classic. But I digress. The beers. Before we let you go, 40 craft beers from. Basically, they're from all over the country, aren't they? I mean, how'd you find them?
All over the world.
All over the world.
Yeah,
my bad.
Yeah,
I sold you short.
Well, the idea.
How'd you scout them out?
Well, I like to call it
trial and error.
Here it comes. It's like curating art. You ready for that? You like that?
What do you mean?
Go ahead. I teed it right up
curating
there for
art.
you. It's like curating art.
I don't
Remember, we don't know what frosting is.
Should I have a line
bad.
for that?
What are you talking about?
No, seriously. I mean, have you traveled around just sampling? I mean, how do you?
Yeah,
do
we do travel. We do a lot of brewery tours. We go a lot of places to pick them out. A lot of people do curate too, kind of getting in good craft brewing. But the program was always we have 2 towers, 20 taps on each.
Nice.
The idea is to kind of tell a story with the 2 taps. So 20 of them are dedicated to Old World original brewing, and 20 are dedicated to New World American craft brewing.
Wow, I didn't know there was a theme. That's really cool.
There's a theme.
Well, we got to work on it. I don't know if you want to give this some thought, or if you just want to go off the top of your head. But you remember last month we did the Jeff Dubay special. We were doing the Widowmaker.
Yeah.
You got something for us for November? You want to do a special? Because we sold out the Widowmaker at one point. I was pretty proud of that.
Oh, that Widowmaker is going to be on forever.
Okay. Well, so you want to just keep the special on Widowmaker?
We brew that, right?
No, I thought that was from Colorado.
What? What's wrong with you? Yeah, I actually go to Colorado and brew that beer.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. So that's just an excuse because you want to go to a pot is illegal for a weekend.
Right.
Well, I mean,
and I can write it off.
Yeah. So let me guess.
I work kind of for you now.
Yeah,
can I come?
Yeah,
Anytime
come on.
Let me guess. You have a brewery in Seattle, I'm guessing too. Maybe one in Jamaica.
Washington D.C.
We're
already said
D.C. with 0 to 60.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Perfect. You know what? I guess what's your wine program? I mean, I didn't know you had a wine program.
Yeah, we never talked wine.
What is a wine? Well, I mean, I know you have wine, but
what? Like 60 bottles of wine.
Okay, so what's the difference between having wine and having a wine program?
Having wine means that you're cracking open whatever's on special
with a bottle cap,
getting a nice pink whites in, and
you got boxes in the fridge. Is what it means.
What? not there's anything wrong with that. No. But no, we have about 60, 65 bottles of
beer on the wall.
Well, wine on the wall.
Well, seriously, you did. Did you display it, or do you have a wine rack?
We don't. We have a wine list. We keep. Okay. We like to keep it where it stays.
Do you have an educated palate?
Sorry,
I do.
Oh. Do you keep your red wine at a certain temperature?
Yeah, we do.
What do you keep it at?
2 degrees.
2 degrees
Celsius?
Yeah. That'd be weird.
Is that weird?
Well, Celsius might work, right? No,
we like to keep it in stasis.
I don't know shit about wine. I really don't.
No, I had actually just never heard of actually keeping red wine at a temperature, and I just recently did, so that's why I had to ask.
Cellar temp is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of what they.
Okay, I just thought that was so odd. They kept it at like 68 degrees or something.
What the hell is that?
You want to maintain a steady humidity and a steady temp.
What a couple of howdy towdies over here.
Hey, I like wine and beer.
Oh, all of a sudden, because we're talking wine, now we're all uptight.
You know what?
Really?
Maybe I guess maybe I do need a little more culture.
That's why I sell beer.
As I sit here and drink,
I can talk about beer the same way all day, but then they'll be like, it's beer.
Well, you know what? There was a time when beer was just beer, but all of a sudden now with the microbrews and everything, you've got beer connoisseurs like you got whiny guys.
But you know what? They're not snobby.
By the way,
they're beer guys.
Not as snobby.
Beer snobs is an unfair term. Maybe we should scrap it. But let me ask you this. Do you get as pissed off? Not as pissed off. I don't see you ever get pissed off about a customer. But do you just shake your head when somebody comes in here and orders a bottle of Bud Light? Because I just go, come on. I go,
absolutely not.
Really? I do.
No, hell no.
Well, see, you take it.
He owns the joint. He doesn't sound it anyone buys anything.
Oh, no. Hey, I'll call it out. I'll tell you my favorite beer. My first beer I ever drank, my dad used to drink it, and he'd give it to me as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you heard that right.
I did kind of let that go.
So this is age 11?
Well,
I was younger than that. My mom. I remember working in the yard. The first beer she ever gave me. So she came out. I'm working in the yard and it's hot. Whatever. She comes out. I'm like 15. She's like, "Hey, it's nothing better than a cold beer on a hot day when you're working outside."
That's awesome.
Coors Original.
Okay.
The banquet beer.
Okay.
It's a great beer.
Well, it drew you to Colorado,
right?
Where you brew Widowmaker.
That's what I'm saying.
I used to be. I like to brag about my past because I used to be pretty cool. But I used to be the spokesperson in this market for Sam Adams.
When?
So, no, come on.
You got to go way back.
I was buddies with Jim Cook.
Oh, well.
Do you like Jim? Do you know Jim?
Actually.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, to be honest with you.
Raging alcoholic. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. He's not.
I will say, it's funny you should call Jim Cook out. He's actually my...
He's a great guy.
He's one of my heroes.
I love him.
I wrote a paper on Jim Cook in college, which I turned in late and turned it in with a 6-pack. Still got an A.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yep.
That's a nice little token with it.
It really was. I literally set it outside my professor's door with the paper tucked into the 6-pack. It was like, sorry about that.
Mental note.
It worked out.
Well, I mean, he talk about a guy who just started something and it just went.
And that's what I love about him.
And it's a great beer. I mean, everything they make is great, but.
And he's a real entrepreneur.
He's a genuine dude. I mean, like he'll walk into a board meeting. It'll be like 8 a.m. and there'll be a pitcher of water, and his line is, he loves this line. He goes, what is this water? Fish piss in this shit. Get it out of here. And then he'll crack open beers and pass them around at 8 a.m.
I didn't know that, but I grew up with my dad saying, "Water never touched the stuff. Fish fucking water."
Yeah,
same idea.
Same thing.
Whatever.
Fish,
that's ingrained in my head.
Fish piss, fish jizz, whatever. I want nothing to do with either of it.
Yeah.
But he told me when he was on the show. And he would always get us in trouble, too, because he'd walk in to the studio with a 6-pack and crack them. And you can't do that. You can do it on a podcast.
Against FCC, right?
Well,
But you can't. I mean, he flew us out to Boston, and we were drinking ciders on the air. We shouldn't have done it, but he made us. It wasn't our fault. It wasn't our fault. The Sam Adams hard cider. But he said to me once, he goes, you know what the least important ingredient is in any beer? Yeah, I bet you know what it is. Water. He said all these people who advertise sky blue waters, fuck them. I can make toilet water. I can take toilet water and make a great beer. That's what he said. I can make an award-winning beer out of this toilet. Those were his words.
Yes and no.
Those were Jim Cook's.
I think Jim and I could sit down and debate that a little bit.
Those were Jim Cook's words.
How am I going to debate with the billionaire beer maker? But I will.
Have you ever been to the Sam Adams Brewery?
I never have.
Oh, it smells like heaven.
And
It's the best place ever.
I'm not kidding. He literally is one of my heroes. As an entrepreneur,
I love him.
as a philanthropist, as somebody who really is an inspirational person and makes a great product
and
created a movement.
And he's still just a good guy.
That's why I will support Sam Adams all the time.
Yeah, I love Sam
Are they
Adams.
paying us for this, by the way?
No, but I mean,
okay, we should talk to
Sean Barnard. Are you listening?
Yeah.
New sponsor.
In '99, they flew us out to Boston to do shows from the brewery, and he was smoking hops out of a hookah.
Yeah,
he's a unique individual.
See, I knew they were related to. I mean, marijuana and hops were related, but I didn't know people actually smoke hops.
They're kissing cousins. Let's put it that way.
Really? Well, I mean, he was doing it for gimmicky reasons.
Well, it's funny that Widowmaker. We brew that with 100% Colorado-grown hops, which is. It might surprise everybody, but it's really unusual to find a good hop farmer in Colorado. As much beer that's made there.
Where do hops come
They're
from?
mostly from California or
Oregon.
Okay.
A lot of Oregon up in that area. Huh. But the deal is when you've got another cash crop that grows in the same soil and makes a little more money, people have a little more tendency to grow other things. I'm just saying.
You're talking about BC Bud? Is that what you're talking about? The Great Northwest?
Something like I've heard of it.
All right. But thanks, Eric. And again, not just for running a great place, but for bringing us back.
Wow, thank you.
Love it.
Absolutely. It's been great, and it's been a great joint venture. So it's good to have you.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right, man. Thanks.
Thank you, buddy.
We got about, what do we got left here? That's Eric Forsberg. He's the owner of Devil's Advocate and somebody who... if you're somebody who appreciates the show, we want you to come down here and spend some money because they make it possible. If it wasn't for them, I'd be still painting houses.
Well, if that wasn't enough of an endorsement,
I was a horseshit house painter too, by the way. I mean, I was so bad. I would splatter shit everywhere.
Thank God we got you back behind the microphone.
Oh my God, it was a disaster. I'm not a manual labor guy. I'm just not. I'm the least handy person ever, or as I used to call myself, a do-it-someone-elser. I am not a do-it-yourself. It's a do-it-someone-else.
IKEA is a challenge?
Oh, well, yeah, I'm telling you. I could not. There's no chance. I mean, last year, my girlfriend at the time, she's now an ex-girlfriend of mine, but my girlfriend at the time bought me a TV stand. It's still in the box. There's no fucking way I'd hurt myself. I mean, I would come away.
So, hold on. Do you have the TV on top of like a dresser leaning against the wall then? Or how is that TV standing?
It was sitting, instead of being on the stand as it belonged, I just pushed a coffee table against the wall and put it on the coffee table. Yeah. So then there was no coffee table in front of the couch. But I mean, still, you don't. It would have been a disaster. It's me putting shit together. You just want nothing to do with it. One thing I want to get to before we wrap it up. What do we got here? We got about 10 minutes left. I don't want to say I'm the first to admit I'm wrong because people. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who love me being wrong so much that I can't possibly beat them to the punch. But I will admit, I never saw the Gopher game coming. Never saw this. You knocked me over with a feather. I mean, 51-14. And I know Iowa is... mean, it's the Big Ten. There's nobody that's, other than Ohio State, there's nobody that's a world beater in this conference. Iowa kicked the crap out of a Northwestern team that at one time looked like they were decent. I know Iowa also lost to a Maryland team that's dog shit and it has the world's ugliest uniforms outside of the state of Oregon. But for the Gophers to dominate the game the way they did, I mean, here's what I was thinking. When they lost to Illinois, I mean, it's probably a good thing they had the bye week. But when they lost to Illinois, I thought this had the potential for the wheels to come off because the schedule was going to go the wrong direction in a hurry, and it still does. And let's not kid ourselves; they're going to be underdogs in the next 3 games, and I don't see any possible way they can beat Ohio State. And that's not a shot at the Gophers.
No, Ohio State's a good team.
Yeah, they're real deal. They're real deal, and Ohio State might belong at this point on a short list of the best teams in the country. I mean, I don't know that they'll get in the playoff because they lost.
That
to
loss
Virginia
is
Tech.
killing them, right?
Virginia Tech turned out to be so bad that I mean, we understand why it happened. I mean. He had a freshman quarterback who was just,
second game, right?
Yeah, he's just cutting his teeth, and now he's outrageous. He is so freaking good. I mean, the numbers he's putting up are just mind-boggling. But it took a little time, and that's understandable. Although they did have that little mini hiccup against Penn State where they needed a couple overtimes to sneak by.
They're still averaging 28-point wins, though.
28,
since
yes,
that
I read
Virginia
that today.
Tech game.
Their margin
Unreal.
of victory is 28 points a game. Now again, they're playing in the Big Ten, and that does have to be duly noted. But they scored 49. Against a Michigan State team that I think is still pretty good defensively. Now, when you start talking about is Michigan State elite defensively, no, because you know what? They don't have the athletes that schools like Alabama and LSU have on the defensive side of the football. They just don't. It is what it is. I mean, Michigan State's a good defense, and you saw them hang in there for like 2.5, maybe 3 quarters against Oregon, but they eventually speed does take its toll, and Michigan State just doesn't have the elite speed, the elite athlete that some of these other colleges around the country have. But having said that, I don't think the Gophers have a. And again, not a slam. Does not mean jumping off the bandwagon. I just don't think anybody in this conference has a prayer against Ohio State right now. I think the Gophers can be competitive against Nebraska. I think they have an outside chance of beating Wisconsin. But I don't. In all honesty, I think they're probably going to lose the next 3. So this was a crucial win. This is what makes. I mean, I know there's only 1 game difference between 7-5 and 6-6, but it sounds a hell of a lot better. And I tell you what. I don't care how bad Michigan is or how vulnerable Iowa was. The first time since 1967, you've got Floyd of Rosedale and the Little Brown Jug at the same time. I mean, these two things. If they were living, breathing entities, they would not even remember each other. It's like, oh man, when's the last time I saw? I haven't seen you since it was '67. You remember the summer of love, Floyd? We were getting. I mean,
they'd be geezers
seriously,
as well.
Yeah, I mean, they'd be reliving memories from 40 years ago. I mean, it's been a ridiculous time since their paths even crossed, and you've got them both. So, I mean, I'm not going to say you throw a parade. I'm not going to say you chisel, it kills, bulbous head into the side of a mountain. But you know what? Even if you go 7-5 this year, after being 6-1, which would be a buzzkill on the surface, you take home 2 of your traveling trophies from 2 of your most bitter rivals, and maybe you have a more respectable showing in a bowl game. I can still get behind the progress that the program is making. But if they do find a way to win one of the last 3. And especially if that happens to come against Wisconsin, and all of a sudden you're 8-4 and you're holding 3 trophies, that is that season. I'd need a cold shower at the end of that season. I'm not kidding. As a Gophers
fan, yeah.
You go 8-4 and you win all 3 trophies. It's like Katie bar the door. I better get in the cold shower or something's going to happen.
But the 3 teams that you're beating to get these trophies are. I mean,
vulnerable.
Michigan doesn't even count almost. I mean, I know you get the trophy, but they are not a Michigan team as they usually are.
Yep.
And Iowa, I think we realized, isn't a very good football team. But I think also, too, and I think I asked this a couple weeks ago because they did have the bye. Mm-hmm. But I said, what happens if they do just whoop ass on Iowa? And I wasn't even thinking it would happen.
Shocked.
I was just thinking, what would you say? And everybody in the panel said, no way. There's no chance of it even happening.
Yep.
So, but you do, now that it has happened, mm-hmm. Are the Gophers better, or is that just a home field advantage thing? Is that game completely different on a neutral field yesterday? Or is Minnesota that much better than Iowa?
I don't think the bank is the reason. I mean, it's a great place.
I mean, because I think the loss to Illinois was because it was on the road and because they weren't expecting much out of them.
But college football, I mean, there's always a home field advantage for college football. But I mean, I've been so wrong about the last 2 games. I didn't think they could lose to Illinois, and I didn't think
one did.
I didn't think. I mean, I wouldn't have been shocked had they beaten Iowa. I wasn't, saying they can't win this game. But I mean, I never in a million years thought 51-14 was, even possible. I mean, the Gophers. Let's face it. I mean, their struggles typically are on the offensive side of the ball. I didn't know that they had 51 points in them against air I mean, really.
Was it 4 touchdown passes?
Yeah, and it was just that crazy second quarter. He just all of a sudden started to light it up. I mean, he just couldn't miss. It's just not something I could have foreseen. And I don't think Leidner is as bad as people are making him out to be. I don't think he's got great weapons. I really don't. I mean, I think Max Williams will play in the NFL. Other than that, I think it's a pretty mediocre collection of talent catching passes from him. I mean, obviously David Cobb is an elite running back, at least in this conference he is. But
do you think he goes NFL? He
yes.
has to, doesn't he?
Well, I mean, I think he'll get a chance. I don't think he'll ever be a feature back in the NFL. I think he'll be the kind of guy who might have to make his mark on special teams. Or
the day of the feature back is almost done anyway.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he's never going to be a 20-25 carry a game, mail carrier in the National Football League. He's just not quite that.
Is that because of his size, or just his speed, or just because of where he's playing? You can't really tell how good he is.
I don't know that he's a dynamic talent. I think he's a really, really good college running back. I really do. But like when you saw Darrell Thompson play here, when you saw Chris Darkins play here, when you saw Marion Barber and Lawrence Maroney play here, you knew there was something different there. I mean, I know it sounds like I'm selling David Cobb short. And I swear to God, I love the guy. I think he's a fantastic college running back. But I mean, when I see the Gophers offense, I see what they do well. I mean, this offense is really set up to be a running back's dream because they really spread it out. I mean, you rarely see more than 6 or 7 guys in a box, and he's running against the air a lot of the time, and he runs hard, and he runs with a purpose. He's not soft. He gets yards after contact. He makes everything he can out of everything he's given. I mean, he's a very good. He's going to be second team all conference in the Big Ten, and he deserves to be. He absolutely deserves to be. And back to back, he's going to go well over 1,000 yards. So 1,100-1,200 yards, whatever, which in college is a big number in an 11-12 game season. But having said that, I could be dead wrong. I just don't know that he's dynamic enough to be a difference maker in the NFL. I think he'll play. I'm not. It'll be interesting to see. When we get down the road where he's projected in the draft. I'm not sure he's going to get drafted. Maybe he is. Maybe he's a third or fourth round pick. I don't know. I don't think he's any higher than that.
He might be a perfect complementary back. Maybe go somewhere where they have an aging guy like a Marshawn Lynch type guy, and then play behind him, but still take 15 snaps.
It's hard to be a running back in the NFL. I mean, it really is. You see guys who, just fantastic college runners, and they get to the NFL, and you're just not. People aren't sure if if they should be drafted or how high they should be drafted, or where they get there and they just don't have it. I mean,
is that an intellect thing or a physical thing, though? I think that must be intellect. It's got to be between the ears more.
You know what it is? In all honesty, part of that you're partly right on that because in today's NFL, one of the most important things a guy has to do if he's going to play running back is be able to pick up a blitz.
Yep.
He's got to be able to read it, know where it's coming from, and then be sound enough to get there and do something about it. And that's a tough thing. I mean, that's still it's without a doubt the one. I mean, I'm not saying Adrian Peterson can't do it, but it's without a doubt been the Achilles heel. He just doesn't belong on the field in passing situations because he's not a receiver and he can't pick up a blitz.
Yeah. Well, you watch good running backs week to week get just blown by outside lineman just run right past them.
And I don't think it's helping. I don't think it's helping today's college running back that the trend in college is really getting away from any kind of NFL-looking offense. I mean, it's more spread. It's more
is that a rules thing?
It's a talent thing, I think.
Okay.
I mean, I think if you've got a ton of talent, if you are Alabama and you can put together a semi-pro offensive line, you line up with 2 backs and a tight end and you just pounded people. I mean, you play an NFL game. But if you're Minnesota, you've got to spread it out. You've got to get a quarterback who can make decisions, and I'm not meaning in the passing game. He's got to read the defensive end on the option. And back in the day, back in the 70s and 80s, if you were a team that was, you didn't have the athletes to just line up and pound people, you'd run option, you'd run veer option, but that was get out on the corner with a quarterback who's got to make a split-second decision on whether he pitches or whether he keeps it. Now the option is put the ball in the guy's belly and either leave it there or pull it back, depending on if the defensive end is coming or not. If the defensive end collapses in, like he thinks it's going to be a handoff, you pull that back and you get around end. You get outside, they lose contain, and you go. But if that defensive end stays home, you keep it in the running back's belly and let him go. This is an offense that you see, sporadically in the NFL from time to time in the NFL, but it's not a bread and butter. And guys come out of college not schooled well enough. As a matter of fact, I remember when Parcells got his hands on Marion Barber, he just absolutely filleted Glenn Mason. He talked about that this kid is so coached up, this kid is so NFL ready, this kid knows everything about the game. The Gophers had a pro-style offense. The Gophers were as NFL an offense as you could have. He knew how to run the ball out of I formation. He knew how to follow a fullback. He knew how to pick up a blitz. He knew how to break out of the backfield and catch passes. Marion Barber was a schooled, polished running back, and they don't come out of college like that anymore. They come up having been in the zone and been running spreads, zone read stuff. So that's gonna do it. That's gonna do it for Monday. And I just went Peter Brady. Time to make that change. Remember that episode of the Brady Bunch? Are you too young to remember?
I am way too young for the Brady Bunch. Jesus Christ.
Come on.
How old do you think I am?
Can suck it.